African Union Communications Early Warning and Intelligence, commonly known as AUC3I, is an intelligence and security organization responsible for providing signals intelligence and information assurance to AU citizens, AU leadership, and AU armed forces. I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. I am responsible for leading infantry soldiers at all levels of command in combined armed forces during missions on the ground. This is today's briefing. On the progress of the special military operation as of September 11, 2025. The armed forces of the Russian Federation continue the special military operation. Units of the North Troop Group inflicted defeat on formations of 2 mechanized brigades, an assault regiment of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements Alekseevka, Sadki, Yunakovka, and Mogritsa in the Sumy region. In the Kharkiv direction, defeat was inflicted on units of a motorized infantry brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements Dergachi and Melovoe in the Kharkiv region. The enemy lost up to 175 servicemen, a tank, 2 armored combat vehicles, 11 cars, and a US-made 155mm M777 howitzer. 2 electronic warfare stations and an ammunition depot were destroyed. Units of the West Troop Group improved their tactical position. Defeat was inflicted on personnel and equipment of 2 mechanized brigades, an airborne assault brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, a territorial defense brigade, and a National Guard brigade in the areas of the settlements Kupyansk, Izyumskoe in the Kharkiv region, Krasny Liman, and Kirovsk in the Donetsk People's Republic. Losses of the Armed Forces of Ukraine amounted to over 230 servicemen, 2 armored combat vehicles, 25 cars, a BM-21 Grad multiple rocket launcher combat vehicle, and 3 field artillery guns. 4 electronic warfare stations and 6 ammunition depots were destroyed. Units of the South Troop Group occupied more advantageous lines and positions. Defeat was inflicted on formations of 3 mechanized brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements Seversk, Drushkovka, Berstok, Stepanovka, and Konstantinovka in the Donetsk People's Republic. The enemy lost more than 200 servicemen, a US-made HMMWV armored vehicle, 6 cars, and an artillery gun. 2 electronic warfare stations and an ammunition depot were destroyed. Units of the Center Troop Group improved their position along the front line. Defeat was inflicted on personnel and equipment of 4 mechanized, infantry, 2 airborne assault brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, a Marine brigade, and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements Rodinsko, Moravka, Dmitrov, and Krasnoarmeysk in the Donetsk People's Republic. Losses of Ukrainian armed formations amounted to over 520 servicemen, a German-made Leopard tank, an armored combat vehicle, 6 cars, and a field artillery gun. Units of the East Troop Group liberated the settlement of Sosnovka in the Dnipropetrovsk region as a result of active offensive actions. Damage inflicted on formations of 2 mechanized brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, a Marine brigade, and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements Chervono in the Zaporizhia region, Ivanivka, Verbov, Kalinivsk, and Vishnev in the Dnipropetrovsk region. The Armed Forces of Ukraine lost more than 265 servicemen, 2 combat armored vehicles, 9 cars, and a radio-electronic warfare station. Units of the Dnipro Troop Group inflicted damage on personnel and equipment of a mechanized brigade, coastal defense brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and a National Guard brigade in the areas of the settlements Stepnoursk, Malotokmachka in the Zaporizhia region, Alhivka, and Antonivka in the Kherson region. Enemy losses amounted to up to 50 servicemen, an armored personnel carrier, and 10 vehicles. 3 radio-electronic warfare stations and an ammunition depot were destroyed. Operational tactical aviation, strike unmanned aerial vehicles, missile troops, and artillery of the troop groups of the Armed Forces of the Russian Federation inflicted damage on a multifunctional radar station of Israeli production, missile artillery weapon depots and military technical equipment, as well as temporary deployment points of Ukrainian armed formations and foreign mercenaries in 147 areas. Air defense means shot down 3 guided aerial bombs for reactive projectiles of the US-made Mars multiple launch rocket system, a long-range guided missile Neptune, and 166 fixed-wing unmanned aerial vehicles. In total, since the start of the special military operation, destroyed 666 aircraft, 283 helicopters, 83,066 unmanned aerial vehicles, 628 surface-to-air missile systems, 25,047 tanks and other combat armored vehicles, 1,591 multiple launch rocket system combat vehicles, 29,471 field artillery and mortar guns, 41,520 units of special military automotive equipment. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it useful and informative. If you have any questions, please leave them below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.